For many students learning Chinese, getting the right pronunciation can be a major challenge. Although tones are usually taught in the very first Chinese lessons, they're often misunderstood and even incorrectly explained. So today, for the first time on this channel, I want to discuss a topic that's not about Chinese grammar. Hello everyone, welcome to Chinese Pronunciation Simplified. This will be the first episode of my tone series. In this series, there are three major topics I will cover. 1. Reintroducing the Chinese tones as feelings and as music. 2. Several different ways the neutral tone is pronounced. 3. The tone change rules. Without further ado, in the next 10 minutes, let's dive into how tones actually work. Let's start. Tones, in essence, refer to the pitch shifts in our voice. In English, tones are usually associated with the mood or feelings we want to convey. For example, when expressing confusion or asking a question, I would raise my tone and say something like, "Huh?" And when expressing understanding or realization, I would drop my tone from high to low and say, "Huh." However, unlike English, in Chinese, tones are not just a default device to express feelings. They are primarily a built-in feature of the pronunciation of each word we speak. There are 5 tones in total in Chinese, usually documented by the tone marks shown here. Characters without a tone mark are in the 5th tone or the neutral tone, and we will discuss them in the next video. Today, let's focus on the 4 tones with tone marks. Going back to the 2 sounds I made earlier, the questioning voice, "huh?" is basically equivalent to the sound of the 2nd tone, and the realizing voice, "huh?" is equivalent to the 4th tone. When it comes to the 1st tone, it sounds like a steady, high-pitched, sing-songy voice, like la la la. When it comes to the 3rd tone, many are told that the 3rd tone sounds like how the tone mark is shown, which goes, ah. In practice, we only do the full down and up when we really want to emphasize the individual character. When we speak at the normal conversation speed, the 3rd tone is actually, more often than not, a steady, low-pitched, sing-songy voice like ah. A much simpler and fail-proof way to visualize and to pronounce the 3rd tone is to consider it a much lower and lazier 1st tone. Since most characters in Chinese have fixed tones associated with them, pronouncing a word made up of several characters with incorrect tones could completely change the word's meaning. For example, if you pronounce the word with the 2nd and the 1st tone as 熊猫, it means giant panda. But if you pronounce it with the 1st and the 2nd tone as 胸毛, it means chest hair. Similarly, pronouncing 水饺 means boiled dumplings, but pronouncing it as 睡觉 means sleeping. Crazy, right? That's why we need to be extremely careful and make a real effort to get the tones right. Another thing that confuses many students is that the tones can actually sound very different from person to person because of our differing voice ranges. If you have a female teacher with a higher pitched voice, the 4 tones listed could sound like ah, huh, ah, ha. I can actually reproduce them on my guitar like this. However, if you have a male teacher with a lower pitched voice, the 4 tones could sound like this. Ah, 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 ah. If we compare just the 1st tones spoken by these 2 different voices, you might notice that one of them is significantly higher than the other. One person's 1st tone can sound almost like another person's 3rd tone. So, how can Chinese people consistently tell which tones others are saying? The answer lies in the relative musical dynamics we hear in the words. Imagine a song you know well. You'll recognize the melody, but regardless of whether it is sung by a soprano,
Happy birthday to you,
or a bass.
Happy birthday to you.
Similarly, in Chinese, the tones determine the melody of the words. But the same melody sung by different voices might be in different keys. Therefore, when you first study the tones, it is really important to find the right ways to say them, adapting to your own voice range. In other words, find a key that you're comfortable with. Here's how you can do it. Let's first set a benchmark by finding your robotic monotone voice. Say something like this. Hello, I am a robot. As you can see, it's not too high or too low for me to say. If you know music, my monotone comfortably sits on the note of D. And for someone whose voice is lower than mine, it could be more like somewhere here. Now, to correctly pronounce your first tone, we need to reach a note slightly higher than our monotone and hold it steadily. In my usual voice, a comfortable note would be G sharp. Let's try a few all first tone words. 沙发 咖啡 Now, try a whole sentence in the first tones. 出租车司机开车喝咖啡 You should feel the effort you put in to reach that slightly higher note. Again, when it's set right, the first tone is supposed to sound steady, high-pitched, and sing-songy. Next, when it comes to the second tone, the starting point should be clearly lower than your monotone, and then rise up to somewhere close to your first tone. For me, it goes like this. Let's try a few all second tone words. 长城 黄河 Now, combining it with the first tone, you'll find words like 中国今年明天回家 When we move from a second tone to a first tone, the transition should sound smooth and almost seamless. The end point of a second tone is basically where the first tone starts. Moving on, the third tone should be the lowest tone of them all. Opposite of the first tone, the third tone needs to sound deliberately low and relaxed. When I say it, it sounds like this. Or again, a much less dramatic ah. Combining it with the first tone, the contrast between the two tones should be clear and stable, as if you are singing two notes. Dun, dun. For example, we have words like 小猫老师中午喝水 When we move from third tone to second tone, the transition should be smooth, and again, you don't need to do full down and up for this third tone, because the second tone takes care of all the rising. For example, 起床好人 However, when we say words starting with the second tone and moving on to the third tone, like 没有朋友 The transition is abrupt, and the third tone is again low and relaxed. You might ask, what about words with two third tones? Actually, let's save that topic for our third video of the series. Last but not least, let's look into the fourth tone, a realizing drop of the voice. The key thing to note is that the fourth tone usually starts from the highest point of all the tones, and it can often sound harsh and loud. It's especially obvious when we say words that combine the fourth tone with the first tone, like 第一看书吃饭说话 If we start the fourth tone lower than the first tone, it can sometimes sound like a third tone instead, so be careful. Let's see some words with the 4-2, 2-4, and 4-3, 3-4 combinations. 未来去年城市不要电脑号码我是考试 Finally, when you say two fourth-tone words in a row, the second one should sound even more pronounced than the first one, unless the second character is a verb complement. 再见电视 Now, to showcase the tones in two different voice ranges, let me say all the words we introduced earlier in a higher key and a lower key. 沙发咖啡中国今年中午喝水吃饭说话沙发咖啡中国今年中午喝水吃饭说话明天回家长城黄河没有朋友城市不要明天回家长城黄河没有朋友城市不要小猫老师起床好人我是考试小猫老师起床好人我是考试第一看书未来去年电脑号码再见电视第一看书未来去年电脑号码再见电视 While it's obvious that the two voices are different, can you tell that the relative dynamics within the words are stable and the same? They're basically the same songs but in different keys. When you first start to learn Chinese, it's important to practice saying each word, especially those with two characters, with the right tones. The 30 words shown here with the 15 tone combinations are a great place to start. Pick a key that is comfortable for you and practice until you can say these words correctly and consistently. If you found this video helpful and would like to see more, please like and subscribe. For personalized Chinese lessons, reach me at TwinCitiesChineseTutor.us. Thank you for watching. Wait, what? You're still here? Well, let me give you some bonus tips. Since I'm able to say all the words in two different keys, it might clue you into the fact that Chinese speakers can actually utilize key switching to add dynamics to sentences or convey emotions. For instance, I could say the earlier sentence with more dynamics as 出租车司机开车喝咖啡. You might notice I didn't say all the words in the same key this time. Instead, I dropped the key twice in the second half of the sentence while maintaining the tones in each word. This is a more advanced technique, and I don't recommend trying it when you are just starting to learn Chinese. If you can't correctly pronounce the words with the correct tones in one key, trying to add dynamics by switching keys in a sentence will only mess up your tones. However, once you've mastered the tones in one key, mimicking native speakers and copying the dynamics of how they say sentences is a great way to improve your Chinese pronunciation. Good luck!